Well, Victoria, thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to talk with you about all kind of intersecting identities as a woman and to hear your story. So let's just jump right into it and have you start us off with talking a little bit about how you got interested in intersecting identities and being a woman.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. So hi everyone. My name is Victoria Gichohi. I'm a proud resident of Compton, born and raised, and still currently residing, third generation. So I think that's pretty much shaped the introduction or my start into learning about my intersectionalities. I grew up in a two-parent household in Compton, so definitely in the urban area. I'm sure most of you know my city from various amazing artists, rappers, musicians, athletes, etc. But I grew up with a Kenyan father, so hence my last name Gishoi,
Yeah.
a Black or African American mother, and it was me for the first 10 years of my life, and then my brother. So grew up in a very predominantly faith-based household. My uncle is a pastor of my church. My grandmother was also a really predominant minister in Kenya. My mom was a youth minister, so that's kind of like helped shape the first origins of my life. And then I went to UC San Diego and got my sociology degree, bachelor's in sociology and minor in African American studies. And I think just taking some of those classes and lenses involved in leadership, serving both and serving in organizations representing both my cultures, African Student Association, Black Student Union, and just kind of always been birthed into leadership. My mom was my principal. I can tell you about that. We'll
I
probably
love
get
it.
into that a little bit later. My grandfather was a former city councilman in Compton. So, both of my aunts and uncles have high distinction in leadership roles working for the federal government. So I come from really predominant genes and just kind of, intersected and still wanting to have a passion and a servant heart of servicing my community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love hearing that. That's so great. Thanks for that. I resonate.
Thank
My dad was my history teacher, so I
Yep.
get it,
Yep.
right? Like
Daughter,
parents are
daughters of
di
educators. Yep.
for sure. And I think that plays into our leadership a little bit too, right? Like
Yes.
kind of that forced into, but then find a love for, hopefully, in our cases, I
Yes.
think, found a love
Yes.
for sort of thing. So love it.
Absolutely.
Love it. Well, Victoria, you've shared with me that grief in relationships has helped kind of define who you are as a woman and as a leader. Can you tell my
Mhm.
listeners a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so went to UC San Diego, UCSD. And the college is very, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the best way I can describe it is like Hogwarts, where at the time when I went in 2011, and I did 1 year, extra year, so graduated 2016. But there's six different colleges, so each college is kind of like similar to like a house at Hogwarts.
Yep.
Now graduating UCSC, now there's eight colleges or eight houses. So to speak. So I graduated sixth college, which focuses on culture, art, and technology, June 2016. Moved back home, applied for graduate school previously, and or earlier that year, and I ended up losing my great grandmother, so my mom's grandma, that January. And when I moved back home, got accepted into Charles University, our Drew University of Medicine and Science, and was going to begin my public health journey. And had my parents really question, like, "What's public health? And you sure you don't want to be a physician? You sure you don't want to be a pediatrician?" I'm like, I know this is kind of a focus. Like, I know I said I promised, like, I would be able to prescribe you all and all of that, but this is my pivot, and I'm trusting my guts. I'm trusting my faith,
Mm.
and I'm going to do well. So I end up having orientation that summer, moved back in, a very much so huge change of being independent in college and now coming back living with your parents night and day, right?
Yep.
Fortunately, my mom unexpectedly passed. I was the one who
Mm,
found her from a heart attack
mm,
10 days before starting my master's program. So
mm.
that rocked my world.
Yeah.
Was questioning my own existence. If it wasn't for therapy and my faith and the people who she left and entrusted with me, my father, my village, my family, friends, I probably would not be speaking to you today.
Mm, hmm.
So yeah, so therapy really, really helped a lot. Um, And then I was still meeting with my therapist at the time, on a monthly, almost at first weekly basis, and then it turned into um like twice a month and then monthly basis. So continued on, was kind of in this space of raising myself, raising my brother, helping my dad figure out his depression, was in a
Mhm.
relationship at the time, and still making waves and strides with my professional career and finishing up my master's. And I got a job at the top of 2018, got a brand new car. During that holiday season, I did lose my dad's closest brother, and my dad was 4 out of 11 kids. So
Wow.
he ended up passing at the time from stomach cancer, this particular uncle. And my dad wanted to bury him. So he went out there around the holidays in 2017. And my dad was going to come back and just kind of take some time, being around family, the rest of my Kenyan relatives out there. My grandparents did relocate after I graduated. And my dad ended up just getting sick and also passing out
Oh my
there. He had a
gosh.
stroke. So unfortunately, me and my brother have lost both our parents.
Hmm.
And this was 3 months before I got my master's. I tell people I lost my parents in the midst of getting my master's. And
Hmm.
at that time, I was questioning God. I was questioning, what am I going to do with my brother? My aunt and uncle decided that they were both were going to raise him. And I was like, no, like that's my brother, that's my baby. And
Hmm.
I was 22 when I lost my mom, was 24 when I lost my dad, and my brother was 12 and 14 respectively. So
Yeah.
freshman year, eighth grade brother, and then now freshman year brother. So life definitely happened, but it
Yeah.
was the time and where we've always bonded being 10 years apart. And I think it helped kind of shaped and keeping on their legacy of wanting to make a
Mm.
difference in my hometown and kind of, create that prevention awareness in my community of Compton. So at that time, I was hitting the ground running as a community health organizer for a nonprofit called St. John's that provides mental health, medical and dental services on top of other support services. And ended up getting like global opportunity later that year, and just kind of kept hitting the ground and hitting my tracks and early on into my public health career. So I do credit um going to therapy. I do
Mm.
credit keeping on their legacy. I do credit um just having the faith that everything will eventually like work out. Of course, this is not how I imagine my trajectory. This is not how
No.
I imagine, you know, eventually being a wife and a mother and not having them there. But I do know that they did leave me and my brother in good hands,
Yeah.
and just, keeping the faith that, that while grieving, like it is okay to grieve. I had many, many, many different people tell me, oh, like you're not supposed to cry. Like, oh, like, when are you going to get through this season of hurt? I'm like, my mom, my dad were my rock, like
Yeah.
even in spite of some of their shortcomings and their flaws, like those are the people who brought me into this world. They're our first teachers,
Yeah.
and my brother's first teachers. And I think I still kind of have a little bit of hope because I still have their voices in my head about certain
Yeah.
things like, okay, no, don't go there. Or no, like, I think you should trust your gut and apply
Yeah.
for this. Or, hey, like, you should stay away from that person, in
Yeah.
terms of relationships. So I think the fact that I have that faith in kind of their voices still to this day now at 31 is incredible.
Yeah.
And I credit them, and I credit my family for holding me, my family, my friends, previous partners for holding me and my brother down.
Yeah. Well,
That was
Victoria,
a
thank
long
you.
statement. I'm sorry.
No, that was so great. Like, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that that's
Thank
so
you.
powerful and speaks to who you are as a person, your resilience, and
Thank you.
you sharing your family's legacy through the work that you do and how you show up in this world. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
That was really powerful. So.
Thank you.
Um, gosh, I mean, and I know, you and I have met a couple times
Mhm.
and I already know that you're a really strong woman and I can tell that you are kicking butt and taking names and doing great things out there, right? And I know this
Thank
also
you.
because you've shared with me about Black Girls Leadership Academy, which you
Yes,
are a founding member of. So
yes, yes.
congratulations on
Thank you so much,
your
Michelle.
nonprofit.
Thank you.
So I know you've had a ton of success since founding this, and I'm curious how your personal experience helped you to shape and form such a meaningful and powerful opportunity for Black girls.
Yeah, yeah. So the origins, myself and my best friend and co-founder, Jocelyn Livingston, or Jazzy for short, love that woman. I'm so honored to be in leadership with her. But at the time, this was in the pandemic, so 2020,
Hmm.
April 2020. I'm
Mm.
pretty sure
Woo,
you can kind of
it was there.
remember those times. Your listeners, I'm pretty sure you all can remember those times. So, I was working still at the company that I'm surprisingly still at now. I came back at St. John's and I was like, I'm concerned about my safety. Let me just take a step back. I'll take a sabbatical and come back when I'm ready. And luckily
Mm-hmm.
that transpired. I was able to get unemployment for a month and I was like, okay, I'm kind of confined. Let me go out and help my city because clearly the rates were going up in LA
Yeah,
and Compton, other surrounding areas. So
yeah.
Jazzy at the time was working with a as the national program director for the youth and college division of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in DC. And we're locked in. We talk like almost every day, and we were just reminiscing of all the amazing Black women that we met at UCSD. But also growing up in LA, she's from South Central Los Angeles. I'm from Compton, and just seeing some of the youth and some of the young girls here in LA that we just noticed that we really need a little bit of extra push, a little bit of
Mm.
extra tug. Outside of our amazing moms, and her mom is still living. So shout out to you, Mama Ross.
Oh,
Um, and just reminiscing of all the other amazing Black women and even non-Black women who like poured into us, non-Black men who also poured into us at UCSD, but we want to be really intentional. And we're thinking about like our cousins, people who attended our churches, people who just grew up with us in the neighborhood and wanted to be able to make a difference and be like, wow, what if they had like a Vicky and Jazzy in their life who poured
mhm.
into them outside of like their family members, their older cousins, etc. And to me, this is kind of like this organization is an ode to my mom.
Mm,
Those who knew her, who knew Jackie Gichohi or Jacqueline Elise Gichohi knew that she was passionate about youth, about the kids, about their education, about the arts, and just realizing that no matter what circumstances, no matter what type of degree, certificate that you have, like nobody can ever take that away. They can try to take your and strip away your race, your ethnicity, your identity, sexual orientation, your faith beliefs. But one thing that people cannot tangibly take away is your knowledge, and knowledge is
mhm,
power. That's something that always my on both sides of my family, that's something that was always told to me.
mm.
So I was just so Jazzy was just like one day we were at the beach and at Manhattan Beach, or one of our favorite beaches. And she was just like, Vicky, I want to be able to help young Black girls. I was like, okay, same. Like, what are we gonna do? She's like, let's create a nonprofit. And I'm like, girl, you're out of control. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Jazzy is a visionary, she's a dreamer. We were like, okay, but we are in the smack dab of Lord knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
And both Jazzy also comes from a clinical psychology background, public health background. So we already knew that the not the level of magnitude, but we knew that something like the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, it was going to transpire a
yeah,
couple of years ago, and people were not taking us public health hobbies seriously. But here we are.
yeah.
So, long story short, she was like, Vicky, we have something beautiful, but like we have to find like-minded women who are dedicated, and want to cry about 3 to 4 hours, 5 hours a week to for our mission. We're like, okay, Jazz, like I don't know what we're gonna do, but okay. So we found our original 5 founders, including ourselves. And we met consistently almost for like a year, while developing our logo, as you can see, and while
Yeah.
developing social media page and following people. I think at the time there was a platform called oh my gosh, I cannot. think of what it's called, but basically it's kind of voice talk over. And I was meeting many different people on Instagram and was like, hey, we have this mentorship program. And we wanted to be intentional about not just being specific and providing a mentorship dedicated to like young youth in LA, considering that's where we're from.
Hmm.
We also love to travel, me and Jazzy, and we want to think bigger, think nationwide, think global. Even considering my dad's roots of Kenya and wanting to be able to honor his legacy and take
Mm.
as many people as he spoke to throughout my entire existence in life. He was just like, I want people to visit Kenya. I want people to visit Kenya in his accent. So that's like one of the different ways I'm honoring and kind of bringing my parents' legacy back into my work and my
Mhm.
organization is able to take young Black girls from Nebraska, from Compton, from South Florida, from Chicago to my dad's home country to be able to have them connected with another amazing, brilliant Black woman like my mother who can
Mm.
coach them, guide them, even if it's just for 6 months, to be
Mhm.
able to invest in them at times in which they may not feel invested in from their familial ties or from their schools in which they located, especially from those who attend PWIs like me and Jazzy, and wanting to be intentional about that. So that's henceforth brought Black Girls Leadership Academy,
I
where
love
we're
it.
dedicated to be able to provide mentorship to young Black girls age 11 through 24 years old nationwide and focusing on their personal development, their cultural identity, and their global character.
Awesome. Now, Victoria, is there a way that folks can volunteer to be a mentor
Yes.
through the organization?
Yes, absolutely. So you can please feel free to check out our website, www.blackgirlslead.org. You can also follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just look up Black Girls Leadership Academy. And then we are also hosting an upcoming event. This is our third annual 5-day virtual summit called Elevate. Elevate stands for enhancing leadership, empowering values and teaching excellence.
Mm.
So this is an opportunity where not if you're not a mentor mentee, but you would just like to support and listen from dynamic, incredible Black African Caribbean women who are skilled and willing to teach about topics such as financial literacy empowerment, um, such as career development, such as keeping our health and wellness intact in multiple different sectors and industries. This is the perfect opportunity for you to be comfortable in no matter what you're wearing virtually via Zoom. So please feel free to follow us. The dates are October 20th through the 24th of next month, October 2025.
Love that. Love that. And I will make sure to include your website in the show notes
Yeah,
and ways to connect as well with your
thank you
group.
so much, Michelle.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing about Black Girls Leadership Academy. I think it's an incredible thing that you're doing. I think,
Thank you.
generally speaking, as women, we could use all the love in the world and
Yes,
support. And I know as Black women, even more love and support, right? And
yes,
especially, I
yes,
think about the trying times we live in right now, especially in
absolutely.
America. Um, I think we could all use a little bit of love and
Yeah,
support,
yes,
and
yes.
mentorship and community as well. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
100%. And just even relying on each other during these times. I spoke to my supervisor and one of my good friends yesterday, a previous mentee of mine. And I just was expressing my frustrations and kind of like anger with the recent killings of the two Black men in Mississippi,
Yeah.
Corey and Trey. And I told them, I was like, I don't want to lose faith and hope in humanity, but it's very tiring. It's very exhausting at times being
Yeah.
a Black woman, being
Imagine.
me, a Black plus size or curvy woman.
Mhm.
Um, and and I am still trying to find the joy in our everyday lives in the midst of all this pain, all this tragedy, all this heartache. I mean, like how you mentioned the intersections of Black women. Black women is a report that it's like about 300,000 Black women have been currently like or have filed for unemployment this year, are currently unemployed and
Yeah.
have been unemployed more so since the numbers of April 2021. And that was like at the peak time of
Yeah.
COVID, of the pandemic. And COVID is still taking place, y'all. So I still hope that you're
It's still here.
being safe. But just the fact that, like, out of all of this turmoil in our political landscape, I still try as Victoria to still find joy in the small
Mm.
things. Finding joy in seeing my goddaughter sing and play what is it called? Glinda in her school dance performance, seeing my
Oh,
brother
yes.
being amazing and doing great things in his Disney internship as a young Black boy, educated boy,
Yes.
HBCU recent alum, in the midst of
Yes.
all of the grief and all the things that we've been through, right?
Yeah.
Seeing seeing my some of my best friends and colleagues get married
Yeah.
and seeing them still find love and still advocate for the communities at the times where ICE is running rapid through not only
Yeah.
Compton, all over LA, all over
Mhm.
the nation. So trying to find the little small things in the midst of all this chaos. I think there's beauty. Always you hear there's beauty in the struggle, and there's just a glimpse of light and hope that I hope that every Black, every African, every Caribbean person in this nation or this great country that most people like to call. I think it's something to find power in. I think
Yeah.
that's how we reclaim our power. I think
Mm.
that's most people reclaim our power. I think that's
Yeah.
how we find women oftentimes, regardless of their race, reclaiming power in the times where we're seeing our rights getting revoked left and right.
Yeah.
And even another kind of small win, or I call it like a tiny victory, is I think what's the state? No, New Mexico. They're finally having affordable universal childcare, which is incredible,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be able to allow women, families, single dads to be able to not worry about how their children are being taken care of, having the financial burden of them having to take off work to take them to school or having to take off work because you don't have a babysitter, et cetera, and
Yeah.
they can still be able to provide for their children
Yeah.
is that's a win itself. That's like
Yeah.
one of many wins I've heard about this week.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And I think that we got a lot of work to do in this country, right? We got a
Yes.
lot of work to do.
Yes.
But I know that things like your nonprofit and other folks like you, especially women like
Yes.
you, are going to
Yes.
help us get there. And seeing the joy, I think, is one of the things that I'm trying to also do on a daily basis. There's so
Yes.
much negative in the world that
Yes.
it could be easy to get sucked in, but I appreciate you
Yep.
reminding us that, being able to take a moment and see the joy, and even
Yes.
if it's a small thing, right? It could be
Yes.
that you got all green lights on the way to work
Yes.
today
Right.
and celebrate that one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or it
Yes.
could be, that you landed your dream job, or it could be,
Yes.
happiness in a variety of forms. So thank you for
Yes.
reminding us, all of us,
Yes.
that we need to continue to look for the joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah, Victoria, this has been so wonderful. I have just absolutely loved chatting with you, and I know
Yeah.
my listeners are also going to enjoy hearing your stories and your
Yeah.
wisdom that you've shared. So as we kind of wrap this episode up, what are some final thoughts that you have for my listeners?
Yeah. So my final thoughts for you, for all of your done apologizing hotties or fans, your
Yes.
listeners. Number one is to just be unapologetically you. I think the more that you show up in your authenticity, as you are moving and aging throughout life, whether you are a 13-year-old, whether you are a 56-year-old, a 67-year-old, a 87-year-old, that you can just find joy in showing up and knowing that your presence matters, that your life matters, that you should not um that you should not apologize for being who you are, that you should not apologize for standing in your truth. To find, like how I just mentioned to Michelle, find the amazing and small joys and wins, whether it is having a glass of wine, whether it is going out with your girls, whether it is reading a book, whether it is taking up a hobby. For me, I love dancing. So taking and
Yes.
in my room, singing Beyonce in my shower,
Love it.
um, after crying or after giving over like a horrible heartbreak and grieving relationships. I think there's there's power in that, to stand in your power, to stand in your truth, and just recognize that you matter in this world, um, and that yeah, like just I think from a faith standpoint, like just always letting your light shine, for others to see, and hoping that that you can just find encouragement in the small things, in the beautiful things, in the non-beautiful things. I tell one of my friends, one of my international friends I met, is like life can be tragically beautiful sometimes, and I think
Mm,
you can find that even in my life. So yeah, that you have Michelle, you have Vicky rooting for you.
yes.
And yeah, and I just want to also give you your old and your flowers as well,
Mm,
Michelle, of highlighting incredible everyday women like myself,
mhm.
who are doing the work on the ground, and at the time, just even recently, as of today, knowing that media is at stake, that our voices, our narratives are at stake. So you having this Done Apologizing podcast is one of many different ways that you are changing the world and you are highlighting some of our work. So just want to give you your flowers as well, Michelle.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And Victoria, again, I truly appreciate for my friends who are audio only, head on over to YouTube because you can see just the smiles throughout this entire episode. Victoria's smile is contagious, and I have just
Thank
so
you.
enjoyed this conversation, Victoria. So thank you again for joining me and for being part
Yeah,
of our community.
my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Well, friends, thank you for joining us again and for being part of this community. I am grateful for you being here and continuing to join us. And if you're new, hey, welcome. We're so glad you're here. This week's affirmations: I'm done apologizing for spending time focused on me. I'm done apologizing for showing up authentically and genuinely and who I am. I'm done apologizing for fill in your blank. Friends, go out there, have an incredible week, do the amazing things I know you're capable of. And remember to like, follow, and share wherever you're listening. We want to make sure that you're helping to get the word out. If you are re listening to an episode, thank you for doing that. And make sure that you screenshot and send to someone who might need the message that you just heard. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you love this episode or the podcast, make sure you give us 5 stars wherever you're listening. We are on social media, literally everywhere. Go find us on the social medias. We're at Done That Apologizing almost everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. If it's there, we're probably also there. So go give us a follow, share some of the content that you're seeing out there. And if you want to be my guest, just like Victoria and all the fabulous guests that we've had on the show, make sure you fill out the form at the link in my show notes and on all my social media platforms. And remember, you're fabulous. You're a badass. You've got this, and I'm here for you.